Did Bayonetta 3 leave you scratching your head at a few unexplained plot points? Was one of those the entire Lukaon, FAERIES, and Arc Atoms ordeal? If so, don't worry, you're not alone. But that's why I'm here to help you piece together all the facts and aspects regarding this new lore Bayonetta 3 dropped on us. Let's start with Luka from Bayonetta 1 and 2. He is a journalist who's always seeking the truth and is simply portrayed as a mere human. His existence is mostly that of comedic relief and a plot device to keep little Cereza safe. His larger role is to further Bayonetta in her character growth from being portrayed as a semi-villainous character who cares about nothing but herself, to caring about a human, being him, and a child, being little Cereza. He also seems to have an unexplained knack for getting her where she needs to be. The truth he seeks almost always lines up with her journey, and he's typically more informed than her on history, artifacts, cultures, and other important bits that can give her an edge. Now enter Lukaon, a counterpart to Luka that exists in a secluded corner of the multiverse, as this is where the rare fairy people reside. This makes fairies some of the rarest beings in existence, as they only live in a few universes. Lukaon just so happens to be a Luka variant who has a mysterious twilight power. Not only that, but he seems to be the Fairy King. It's made clear throughout the events of Bayonetta 3 that twilight magic has a way of not being bound by one universe in the multiverse, so it seems Lukaon rules over all the fairies in all the multiverses they exist in. What world does he come from though? Well, none of them. The fairy people are said to come from somewhere completely different from Paradiso, Inferno, and the world of Chaos. We know that Jeanne and Purgatorio are other realms that exist, and Purgatorio even has a twilight coloration, so fairy people might hail from the realm of Purgatorio, but the possibility still exists that they're from Jeanne or an entirely different realm we've never heard of. Now, interestingly enough, even though a lot of characters don't have their birthplaces listed, the developers purposely included Lukaon's birthplace, that being the Avalon Forest. After looking up the origins of the word Avalon, it seems to be related to a utopia that beings can reach only after death. This must mean Lukaon is a being that defies the barrier of death. It makes perfect sense actually, when you think about how he's able to freely travel the multiverse, and we even see him willingly go to hell at the end of Bayonetta 3 after merging with Luka. This could also explain why Lukaon would have human counterparts, as similarly to how species of demon exist from chaos creatures dying and being forged in Inferno, Lukaon seems to be a version of Luka that came sometime after death by somehow entering the Avalon Forest, forging him into Lukaon by adopting Twilight energy. Speaking of which, Lukaon is pivotal in how human Luka from Pure Cereza's timeline ends up obtaining Twilight magic. According to logbooks, Singularity's erasure of parallel worlds has created a resonance with Lukaon's counterparts, and his Twilight magic has started to spread to them, once again showing how Twilight energy knows no multiversal bounds. Unfortunately, the vengeful emotions of all the deceased Luka counterparts formed Dark Adam, and controlled Luka's Strider form for the majority of Bayonetta 3. Towards the end of Bayonetta 3, we meet Lukaon in the Alphaverse, which, by the way, seems to suggest that Bayonetta in the Alphaverse was never killed, since the universe never crumbled. Just gonna throw that out there. And Lukaon fuses with Luka, and supposedly, all Arc Atoms. He then uses his Twilight magic to open a portal for Bayonetta and Viola to get to Singularity's definition verse. Now, for some reason, they insinuate that doing this will kill Luka. At least, that's what it seemed like. If that's the case, and it did kill him, then his return in the definition verse is yet another proof that Pure Cereza restored all the timelines, like I proved in my analysis of the ending. Conversely, maybe they weren't insinuating that Luka would die here, and I'm just an idiot, or perhaps it's a purposeful fake out. Regardless, he is here in the end, fully alive himself, with Pure Cereza as she is dying. He then goes to hell with her, but something is totally up here. For one, as I mentioned, he's fully alive, yet going to hell. With his Lukaon powers, he's free to travel whatever realm or universe he pleases, as we've already discussed, so it's interesting that he made sure to go down with Cereza here instead of taking care of Viola in the Chaos realm. Not only that, but the two glow a bright blue light on their way down, which is clearly some kind of fairy magic, as every time we've seen someone get dragged into Inferno, they've never lit up like this. Not only that, but this is the same color light we saw from Luka's portal when he took Viola and Bayonetta to the definition verse. My original theory was that this magic was protecting Bayonetta's soul from being absorbed into Inferno, which is why he went down there with her himself. And that may still be true, but another possibility is that he's warping her to the Avalon Forest instead, which could mean she may return with fairy magic in a future game and take on a form similar to Lukaon. It's definitely one of these two possibilities, but which one it is the real question. Perhaps the Avalon Forest is related to the forest we're traversing in the storybook? Editing Johnny here, and it turns out the storybook is about the Avalon Forest, as you can hear Cereza clearly say it in this clip.
Into Avalon Forest.
Will this storybook DLC hint towards Cereza's return with fairy powers? Will it maybe hint towards her revival? Or maybe it's just the story of how she learned how to activate fairy powers like she did on Viola at the beginning of Bayonetta 3. Regardless, the ending is still fairly happy thanks to Luka and his fairy powers. If you're interested in finding out how we know that all the universes got restored at the end of Bayonetta 3, then go ahead and click the video that just popped up right in front of you. Otherwise, feel free to stick around the channel with any of my other videos. I've been JotoJohnny. Enjoy.